Our next team enjoyed one of its best seasons in program history last year. It's time to welcome men's and women's cross country to the set. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, joining us on set from cross country, head coach Justin Decker, senior Shi-Quan Nettingham, senior George Barlow, junior Morgan Lacey, and freshman Arlene Avalos. Thanks for being here today. And Coach, just to start off, I'm just going to say it. I'm excited for cross country this year. Not that I haven't been in the past, but more so this year as you bring in one of, if not the best recruiting classes that you've ever had to build on last year's successes. Just to talk about that, and the rosters are about double the length that they were last year, and just a lot of returning talent and a lot of incoming talent into the programs this year. Yeah,
so you mentioned coming off our best season ever last year for the men. That was definitely true. By far, last year was the best they'd ever done, and we returned all top 5 of our runners from that team, and then add a couple strong additions to that. One would be Rodney War, who's going to be a senior this year. He's been spent some time in Afghanistan actually with the military, and he was our top runner a couple years ago, so he's returning. So add that to the group we have returning, and then a couple really strong freshmen. So our men's team's gonna build off the success they had last year and looking for a really strong year. Women, we don't have quite as many returners, but a really big and strong incoming recruiting class that we're excited for. Typically we've had about 10 to 12 on each roster, and we've got 17 on the women's team this year. So it's going to be a really deep and talented team. At this point, I don't really have any idea even who the leaders are going to be in our races on the women's team. And you know, that's a good thing because there's just so many with the potential to be up there. So it gives us a lot of depth. Questions from our media?
Coach, I admit I don't know a whole lot about the cross-country program, and I know that the funding is for you guys is probably a little bit less than other sports, but how does it compare to other teams in the conference, other cross-country teams? Do they seem to get more funding than your team, or is it about even all the way across?
I think like most other sports, there's a pretty big range. There's some teams, everybody knows in the conference, that does have the bigger budgets, and I think that is all the same for all the sports. So pretty similar, you know, even though if we might have smaller than other sports, you know, other schools are comparable. The schools with big budgets have bigger cross-country budgets, and the schools with smaller overall budgets have smaller cross-country budgets. So yeah, pretty similar to other sports, I think.
Are there things that could help you become more competitive, other than, you know, a bigger budget that could be implemented, or do you even think about stuff like that?
Yeah, one thing actually is starting this year that's going to make a big difference is the addition of, we're starting a women's distance track team this spring. So that's one thing I've been pushing for a couple of years, trying to get going, because in cross country, when you don't have track season in the spring, you're at a pretty big competitive disadvantage, because one, recruiting, it's tougher to recruit when you only have cross country, because the elite runners want to run both cross country and track, and two, having that whole year to train as a team, where when you only have cross country, we finish in the fall, and then we don't really do anything until the next August for the start of the fall season. But now we have that spring season to train together and improve. So that's going to be a huge boost for our women's program this year.
Question for all the runners. Cross country is such a short season. You guys have 3 meets, or 4 meets, maybe another 1 or 2, depending on if you go to the NCAAs and how far you advance. I'm just curious, what's sort of your approach? Because the season is so short and the meets are kind of spread out and there's just so few of them. How do you look at that, you know, as opposed to maybe a basketball team that has 2 games a week?
Well, really it comes down to the meets that really matter the most are at the end of the season. So that's going to be conference and regionals. So really kind of the other meets are kind of a help to kind of help us figure out, like, get a good feel for racing and kind of getting informed, and really we'll be peaking in our endurance and everything when we get to that point. So once we get to the important races, that's when we'll be at our top shape and ready to compete at that level. So really we're aiming for just those last 2 meets and potentially nationals if we do that well.
Quan, talk to me a little bit about your upcoming season. I know you did okay at the Pac West tournament, but then when you went a little longer distance in the regional tournament, it seemed like you did a lot better. 6K, 8K, 10K. I mean, how do you train for the different races, and do you feel like the longer races is more beneficial for you?
Yeah, I do actually, and that's what my coach has told me, that I think the longer I go, the better I do. Yeah, I mean, I think because I train for longer distances, I try to do about, 10 miles a day or something around there. But yeah, I don't really train differently for the different races. I mean, I do add in like the speed workouts and all that, but I really just try and get, the distance down, and I do like feel more comfortable, running the longer distance just because I think I train for it so much that, when I get in a race, I know how to pace myself, and I think that helps me. George, you and Quan kind of pace off each other? You guys kind of compete and challenge each other a little bit?
Yeah, there's the points where you'll find yourself next to your teammate, such as Shi-Quan, and it's a really big boost if you can kind of team up together and kind of you just have to rely on, like, you're not going to let this guy go. We're gonna do this together and push on through.
Arlene, go ahead. Arlene, Arlene, as a freshman coming in, what number one, it's the college atmosphere opposed to high school, but also you're in St. George now. What adjustments or what surprises have come to you as far as training or?
Well, definitely being in St. George, the heat got me. But I'm adjusting, and especially with my teammates helping me out during practice, like always hydrate. They're always like keeping me updated with stuff, and they're giving me tips. So just my teammates have been helping me adjust through all this. So they've been really great helping me out.
Morgan, Arlene, are either of you going to do the distance track program in the spring?
Yes.
Do you know what races you're going to be in? Is that like 800, 1600, 3200, stuff like that?
Yeah, I would like to do all of those actually and just see
how
it goes. Because that's what I did in high school, so I guess just kind of,
Yeah, I would like to do any race that would help, my team to go further in championships, hopefully, and I would do anything just to help my team out. I'll do the 16, the 32, anything possible.
Question for Morgan. I mean, you look at the women's team this year, and really not a lot of returners, at least, that will be running any races this year. You were on the team a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of give you kind of a sense of, I've got to be a leader coming out on this team in this year?
Oh, definitely. Being a returner, I definitely want to help the freshmen because I know how that feels, like coming in new out of high school. It's a lot different. You have a lot more demands when you're in college. But I love having a young team because I think we have like so much potential, and since we have so many girls on the team, it's going to be good that we're going to be fighting for our spot to be able to compete. So I'm really excited for that.
Being cross country, where do you guys like to run at specifically? I mean, you're running 8, 10, 12 miles. Quan, I've seen you run a bluff. I've seen that little valley. I mean, I've seen you run around town. But do you have a favorite spot or coach? Where do you guys train at the most?
Pretty much everywhere. I'll let them answer their favorites, but yeah, we can run pretty much anywhere. So sometimes on the track, roads, hiking trails, the biking trail down by the river. We go everywhere.
I don't know specifically my favorite route, but I do like running like on the street. This might sound funny, but like I like running like against traffic because like cars like pump me up or something. Like just being right next to them, and I usually like to run with the iPod. I mean, when I'm with them, we just run together. I don't use that, but like when I'm by myself, I have my iPod. I have energy, and then you got the flow of traffic. I don't know. It's just I get pumped up. I don't know what would be my favorite route though.
So pretty much anywhere where he's seen is where
yeah,
he runs
exactly.
the best.
George, your favorite?
I'm kind of the opposite of Shar. We spend all week pounding pavement, so anytime we can get on a trail, that's where I like to be. And St. George is pretty good. You've got a lot of access to good trails right around here, so you can jump out and just go out forever as long as you want.
Morgan?
I think my favorite would be the river trail by the Virgin River because it's flat and it's cooler down there. So that's definitely my favorite. And we do a lot of speed workout down there, so that's what I like to do.
Arlene, your favorite?
Oh, I'm still getting to know the place, but I'm following my older teammates. Wherever they go, I go.
I'm just curious, guys. Do you guys do a Spartan race, or do you do as many summer races as you can? You go up north. I mean, what do you try to do to make sure that you're in prime shape for the short season, like Patrick mentioned earlier? Quan?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I've never done any Spartan races, but I have done like half marathons, like Dogtown and the St. George half. And yeah, I think that helps prepare me because, it's like a race atmosphere. And I just get out there and I love, running. I don't like care too much about like going and trying to win, but I do like compete. And I do think, like I said, the longer distances, they help me. And so I do, and it keeps me motivated too, because when you're, like Coach said, we don't have the track, so we're basically going, I don't know, like 8 months without training with each other. So, if you can get in some of those races, I think can kind of keep you motivated.
Well, unfortunately, our time has passed. As time goes so fast, we wish we could spend half an hour with each team. But we thank you for stopping by today and wish you the best of luck throughout the season. The cross country teams open up their season Saturday, September 3rd in Flagstaff, Arizona, at the Northern Arizona University George Kite Classic.